Wednesday, which is not today. Well, when I grade your stuff, it's quick, but I can't, you know. So as soon as I get it back, which I'm thinking is tomorrow, you'll get a progress report back out. You've been tending to get them about on every Wednesday or Thursday, because I tend to get stuff back from Em and Amber on Wednesday or Thursday. So as soon as I get it back, it goes in the grade book, you guys get a report out. The difference, and which I kind of ruined you guys in week 5, was because I graded your exams. As soon as you turned them in, they were graded like a day and a half later, and then you got the progress report. So I ruined you a little bit right there, and had you expecting more rapid turnover. So you will get it, I'm thinking within 24 hours-ish, somewhere in there. She also has, Emily didn't grade for me this week, so she's got 244 and 105 as well. So I'm sure she's buried right now with all that. Oh, because you guys turned a bunch of quizzes in last week. So that's probably explains what's going on. You'll get it soon, I promise. One per week, at least. Speaking of that, I posted your last exam over the weekend. Some of it will make absolutely no sense right now, that's okay. The part that is like, great, excellent. Some of it will, and some of it will make more sense after today. Most of it will make sense after the end of this week, and all of it will make sense by, say, Tuesday of next week. There might be like 10 points of question that won't make any sense until the very end of the course, but as soon as you see what that part is, you'll blow through that in 10 minutes. So anything involving the central limit theorem, just ignore those questions for right now. There's a question on the Tower of Terror. That's a great question. That'll make more sense after Thursday, so I wouldn't work on that problem right now. There's a great chicken problem involving salmonella with chickens, which apparently is a big issue. That will make perfect sense right now. Well, I shouldn't say it'll make perfect sense. You have the tools to do it right now. You might have to look at it and figure out how to do it. And I gave you some references on what to look to give you some clues on how to do those questions. The very first question on the project is very straightforward application of the averaging of probability distribution. Student debt. Student debt, very, very straightforward using your 1-bar stats. You can knock that one out right now. Right about now, you can probably do half of the exam at least right now and get that part of it done. Each class will pick up another sizable chunk towards it as we go through the rest. So part of it you have to draw a box plot and a histogram on data. Again, that's your last names. Yeah, I got all your last names, all your guys' last names in this class and the other 243 class, and put them into a distribution. And I want you to find me the extraordinarily long / extraordinarily short last names based on any outlier method you guys want to use. You can do that right now if you want to do. Right? Or not right now, but you can do it with the tools you have right now. So that's up for you. Ready to go. Ready to go. 13. There you go. There you.
He's a little Dutch boy.
Oh, little Dutch boy. Okay. Yeah.
Big Dutch boy.
Or a big Dutch boy. So your job is to identify them any way you want to and let me know how. I gave you a nice point breakdown for that one. I think it ends up being 5 problems that are all about 20 points a pop, essentially. I think, if I remember correctly, which I probably don't because I made a lot of exams over the weekend. It's something like that. It ends up being something like that. 3 of which you can do right now, 2 of which you'll learn as we kind of go through the last couple weeks of class. So, yeah, Carol.
Just a question. Do you make new exams every
I tend to,
term for your class?
What I'll tend to do is I'll spruce up. Like the Tower of Terror question is one of my favorites.
Same general question, but different.
Well, here's how it's different. Like the Tower of Terror question, I used to use it in class, like a quiz-based assessment like that. I'd pick a ride, like Tower of Terror, and say, Disney says you have to be this tall to ride it. My son wants to ride it. What's the chance that a randomly selected 6-year-old will get to ride it? And I give you a lot of parameters. So what I do is I change that up a little bit. I say, okay, now he's not 5, or he was 5, now he's 6. You have to go find the new parameters on a 6-year-old. You have to go Google the new ride, say Tower of Terror versus some swing ride or something like that, Pirates of the Caribbean. And then you have to recrunch. So I like keeping the theme, because the theme of the problem
I'd like
is
to look
timeless.
at that data, because I have a 5-year-old. And
Well, you will look at the
Disneyland
data. You will look at the data, because if you can do it for a 6-year-old, you can totally do it for a 5-year-old. That's beautiful. Disney doesn't have a height requirement on their, or Universal Studios, which I guess is Disney, doesn't have a height requirement on their rides per age. It's just you have to be this tall to ride, whether you're 40 or whether you're 4. So you can totally, once you see how to do it with a 6-year-old, you can back for it for the 5-year-old, you can figure it out. So that's why I like them. I like the problems because they're kind of timeless, but at the same time you have to create new because the data keeps changing. Student debt data I just Googled a week ago and I'm like, holy crap, this is fun to look at. This is interesting because, number one, the student debt bubble has been in the news for about 2 years now. The figure I keep seeing is $1.2 trillion. That is that is a lot of freaking money. Now I know we've been conditioned to be, we hear the word trillion now, we're like, trillion. Remember the first couple days of class, the image of a million versus a billion versus a trillion, right? That's your student debt, is that trillion. That's crazy. That's insane that that much money is out there at ridiculous interest rates, and you can't just like wash it away. That's insane to me. So I said, let's analyze this. Let's look at this. Let's see if these numbers are even close to being in agreement with what are being claimed. That's why I spend 5 hours to write an exam, because statistics is constantly changing. I mean, yeah, I can just go to a textbook and pull a problem out, but that problem's going to be flaccid and meaningless to you. Student debt, kids riding Tower of Terror, chicken salmonella in your backyard. It's like a Geraldo special up here. But it applies, and that's the beautiful thing, it applies. Speaking of chickens, we rolled the dice again this past weekend. Got 4 more. Fern, May, Agnes, Gertrude. Fern and May had to go back. I think it was Fern was beating the piss out of the 3, pecking him in the eyes. I'm like, you go back. So now we have Fern 2, who's more well-behaved. And May 1 just laid on her back basically laid on her side in the cave. I'm like, you are not going to make it. So we brought her back too. And we got May 2. So we got May 2, Fern 2, Gertrude, and Agnes. Again, it's rolling the dice. It's rolling the dice. Take a 10-sided die and roll it.
With the roosters?
What if the roosters? We go to Craigslist, where we sell them someday. Who wants a rooster? Anybody want a rooster? Come to me in 6 months. But this is interesting, and I want to try this out when I go home today. I was walking down to class today, and Monty, he teaches statistics sometimes here. My great dude, Monty Cheney. You guys ever have him in an earlier math class? He's a sweetie. He teaches statistics too, and he's like, yeah, I got a foolproof way of telling if they're girls or not. I was like, really? Foolproof. He's like, foolproof. I'm like, seriously? Like 100%? He's like, well, I'm like, okay, good. That means you're a statistician. Good. He goes, you grab them by their feet, even when they're a day old, hold them upside down. which I actually did with the original May, and she laid on her back like a cat, and I petted her on the belly, and she's like, I got a cat chicken. He said, if you do that, hold them upside down, and they're okay with that, like they're just kind of looking around, like maybe perplexed but not violent, they're girls. But if they try to come up and peck you on the hand that's holding them, that's a rooster. So I'm going to try it when I go home. Fingers crossed for A, they all hang upside down peacefully, and B, that's actually correct. Because I really don't want to deal with a rooster in 6 months that's squawking and keep my neighbors up. So anyway, I told the guy at the counter again, I'm like, yep, 1 in 3. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, there's a 1 in 3 chance there's a rooster in there. He's like, what? And I had to give the whole lesson again, and when I was done, he's like, that's freaking awesome, I can tell people that now. And I'm like, yes, yes you can. And they should know that, right? So that way they can't complain when they come back with a rooster. Unless they come back with 3 roosters, in which case they can complain. And they're very, very generous, apparently, about swapping them out. Like when we brought back, well actually Max brought back Fern and May, and they apparently have a timeout corner for the bad girls, and they have an infirmary corner for the sick girls. And I can't help but thinking the infirmary corner is the box that goes to the reptile store. And the timeout corner is probably the box that goes to the reptile store too. I mean, watching these little things peck the eyes, I'm like, oh my god. They tell you to put a red light on them when they're young. And the reason is twofold. Number 1, it keeps them warm. But number 2, and this is, I found this out, maybe you've heard this too, Danielle, they like pecking at each other. They're establishing a pecking order, which is where that phrase comes from. If they draw blood, they will cannibalize that one. If you put a red light on them, they can't see blood. So if one does start bleeding, they're all red. So it's like almost like information overload, and they can't see the blood.
No, they can.
They can?
I had to separate one because they punched
They
all
lied to
his
me.
tail feathers out, and he was gushing blood.
Oh, well, gushing is different than a spot of blood on the feather, I think. Like if you're actually like dripping
But
blood.
that's how it started. That's how it
Oh.
started.
I think you had a bunch of mazes, I think what happened. You got a bunch of those, you had to take them back to timeout.
Yeah.
Get some new ones, some new well-behaved girls. That's what I want to see. I want to see the rate of aggression in those damn things. That would be a fun problem. So far, it's 1 in 8 for our chickens. 1 in 8. 1 in 8, based on Max's selection. Now, of course, Fern, was it Fern the one that see, I've got their names mixed up already. The one that was laying on her side in this. It's pretty common to grab a bird like that because they're easy to catch. He goes into the bin and grabs one that's just laying there. I'm like, Max, grab one. Point to one that's running really fast. Let me catch that one. That one's probably okay. The one that's really hard to catch is probably like a Darwin natural selection, pretty top of the pile. The one laying on her side with 1 foot in her own poop, let's leave that one here. So, but that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. So anyway, roll the dice. 6 months from now, we'll have a discussion about all the eggs we're maybe not getting. We have roosters. We'll find out.
They
So anyway.
lay faster though. If you have one rooster in a big group, they lay faster.
What's a big group?
Well, we've got 30.
Yeah.
and one rooster.
We only have 7 in
Really
one,
neat, but then
4 of
they-
which are now geriatric.
We get 20 a day, 20 eggs a day.
How old are your chickens?
Oh, now they're like almost a year.
Yeah, see, ours are 3.5 years.
Yeah.
They're done. When they do, they lay in fun places like the pond.
Yeah.
What the hell is that in the pond? Oh, it's an egg.
Yeah.
So, plus I don't want the risk of getting more birds than we need. I mean,
That's true.
keep a rooster around, you get more birds, unless you're
And
paying
then-
real close
and then
attention.
What happens? Then they eat them.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. Because I mean, it seems like every species on Earth except us kind of understands how to reel in their population.
Yeah.
And we talked about that briefly, the whole re-ingesting the embryo thing. Humans are the other ones that don't seem to understand that. Just build more cities. Yeah, sorry, socioeconomic sidetrack. Yeah, Rory,
Do you eat roosters?
can you eat roosters?
Yeah.
You can eat anything you want, brother.
I know, but you should figure out people eat roosters.
I don't know, are they good?
They're tough.
They're tough.
because they're mean little bastards.
Tough bastards. They're tough because they're mean little bastards. I love it. I'll never record this. Yeah, I'm sure you can. I mean, I watched Bear Grylls eat a 4-inch trout raw last night with Max watching Man vs. Wild. He's like, it's got tough. Get the head off. Like, okay. And he cooked one later. He's like, they're much better cooked. I'm like, Jesus.
I didn't use it as
Yeah. Yeah, they are. Anyway. So anyway. Couple good questions on the project earlier. Thank you guys for that. Grab me a break if you have other questions on the. Not due till next week. Not due till next week. It's the false positives, false negatives one. I do want to hear issues on it because I like making them. I've got a video tied into that one. I like making them as readable as possible, but I want to hear about how they're not readable so I can maybe adjust it for that non-readability. What else? That's it as far as projects. So it's your last project. Yeah, it's fantastic. Quizzes for this week. You got a couple to pick from. Many as few as you want. You got a Gambler's Ruin one, which is I had so much fun making that. I hope you guys had half as much fun doing it as I had making it. Just watching the math kind of proceed. The amount of money it takes you to win $1 playing craps. I just love that. There's that one. There's also crap. There's at least one binomial quiz. There's 2 of them. That's right. There are 2 of them. One of them involves the coefficient that we spent all that time last week figuring out. Like, is it 4? Is it 6? Is it 3? Is it 15? Is it 10? It's a quiz just on those coefficients. If you're interested, you can also look at that and be like, there's Chinese writing on it. I'm not looking at it at all. That's totally fine. The other one I think is a more straightforward binomial quiz where you're actually looking at the distribution of a probability and applied across a certain number of trials. So as many or as few as you want. As many or as few as you want. I've been watching your guys' numbers. Laura mentioned I haven't sent a progress report out this week. She's correct. It's because I haven't got stuff back from Amber yet. I still have the old stuff, not the new stuff. As soon as I do, progress report's out. I've been watching your numbers. You guys are getting the quizzes in. We've got at least one more in-class quiz next week. There might be one this week too. We'll see. If I can find the time to make it. But there'll be one next week for sure. So there's a guaranteed one. And then you'll have more for next week as well. So, I mean, I think most people are going to have no problem getting the 10 in. So, cool? Makes sense? Right. Right. So, any questions you guys have right now about assessments in particular? Anything you're getting nervous about? Good? Week 9. You guys look tired. Please!
The exam.
Yes!
Coupon, can we still turn that in?
Yes, please do. As a matter of fact, most of you haven't. The exam rainy day coupon for corrections, I took the due date off of that because I didn't want to force you guys to have like 5 things due on one day, but please don't forget to turn it in. I think maybe 10 people have used it. So it's not worth anything if you keep it. Just so you know, the project one is, right?
Yeah.
The project one buys you 24 hours on a project. The exam and the quiz coupon aren't worth anything unless you use them. So please, yes, use them. Good, thank you. Other questions? Decent. Yeah. Week 9, babies. How you feeling?
Over it.
Tired. I'm sorry. Sun came out. Came out after I got dressed on my ride home last night. Sun came out. It greeted me this morning. It was nice. All right. This next image might make you more tired. I apologize. I didn't mean to time it for tiredness. You can also ignore it after 5 minutes. But I want to. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that to you. Let's do.